There's a very negative narrative around Sierra Leone. It's associated with civil war and blood diamonds. When I arrived, the reality of it was quite different. There is just so much life.
What's his style?
Truck style and then freak on your head.
The way people dress demonstrates a resilience and a resourcefulness and a vibrancy. That is what I found really inspiring. And I started to have a fashion blog. It just became quite addictive, taking photos of people. And then everything completely changed in Sierra Leone. I arrived in Sierra Leone about 3 years ago. When Ebola spread to Freetown, I was working as the communications manager for King's Sierra Leone Partnership, a global health project based at Connaught Hospital. Oh, Sheka, you're fine, fine man. There's a sense of community.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah. And people are fun. So yeah, that's kind of what sort of hooked me, I think, in the beginning.
West African health ministers are holding an emergency meeting to discuss ways to stop the deadliest outbreak of the Ebola virus in history.
Ebola has now claimed more lives in Sierra Leone than in any other country.
Sierra Leone took this very unfair turn that no one was expecting. The disease just spread exponentially, and it moved around the country like this horrible, menacing monster. And then it came to Freetown, you know, this urban environment where there's over 1 million people living, and has just claimed so many lives. So after Ebola started, my focus really switched to Ebola, as did everybody else's. But I tried to sort of keep the blog going and focus on the people who are working on the Ebola response.
Today I have to work in the unit because I want to save my people.
It's been absolutely inspiring to be amongst a group of frontline workers who are so brave and courageous, and I'm just absolutely in awe of them. Most of them are Sierra Leoneans. There's a nurse in the hospital where I work, and she lost 17 family members. I don't know how they get up every morning and go back to work. They're just extraordinary. Along with the nurses, there's also the cleaners. These guys go in and mop the floors and clean dead bodies. A lot of them have been thrown out of their homes. You know, their wives have left them. I remember talking to one of my favourite cleaners. He's just wonderful. He said, I'm really lonely at the moment. I've never lived on my own in my life, and now I'm on my own. My wife has moved out and she's taken my kid, and she said she'll move back in when Ebola's finished.
Let's Paris.
Yeah. Salut. How you doing?
So one of the very inspiring characters that I've met has been Will Pooley, who is a British nurse.
As a nurse, you always want to have the biggest impact you can, and here it's easier to have that impact because of such a lack of trained staff. Initially, I didn't have huge fear, but then after a few days, when you start seeing colleagues die and you see the way patients are suffering when they're sick, then the fear really creeps up.
A police convoy escorting the British man arrived at the Royal Free Hospital last night. From Sierra Leone to North London, every care was taken to protect the patient and prevent the spread of the deadly virus.
I knew the possibility that I was going to die. I felt a little bit embarrassed, I suppose, that all of this was for me.
you know, he very, very quickly got medevaced, and he was treated at the Royal Free in London, which is, you know, a big, has a big infectious disease unit, treated by the best doctors, and he made this miraculous recovery in 10 days, I think.
I had a lot of things in my favour, including being evacuated and being offered experimental therapies.
While he was away, his colleague, Nancy, I was keeping in touch with her because she was devastated by what happened to Will. And I think sort of 2 weeks later, she became infected.
My parents came in and said that they had some bad news and told me about Nancy's infection. And that was probably the worst. That was probably the worst moment of the whole experience, I suppose.
It was so under-resourced. People were being given water and Panadols. A week later, she died, which was devastating, you know.
And that would have been a week of real suffering.
So Nancy, you've lost a lot of your colleagues and your friends. What makes you keep coming back?
And I have that faith that I'm free from Ebola. I will not go far from Ebola. I'm there until we get Ebola finished in this country. I have the faith, that's all.
So the gaps between relatively poor people and relatively rich people, there has to be a way to stop that making the difference between life and death, I think.
I was the first person in New South Wales to be tested for Ebola. It's not a very nice feeling. I ended up being in the hospital for about 4 hours while I waited on my test results, and I tested negative, and then I was released for Christmas.
But even when she came home for a visit, some relatives were very standoffish, thinking, oh, you know, are you safe and can I get Ebola from you? So it's been worrying for our extended family, but my husband and I, we've been reassured by Jo that she will be okay. And whenever she rang, she would say, Mum, I will not get Ebola because I understand how it's transmitted.
I've never been scared that I'm going to catch Ebola. It's very infectious, but in a way it's not as contagious as what we think.
When Joanna said she was going to go back for 6 more months, my initial reaction was, oh, do you really have to go back? Do you really need to go back? There's always the doubt of things happening over there. And
Coming back has been really interesting. It's quite different here now. It feels like there's light at the end of the tunnel. Back at Connaught Hospital, this is where I was working at the height of the outbreak. Hi, Bali. Ooh.
Thank God.
Thank God. Yeah, case numbers are coming right down. I think in the last week there's been about 70 cases. 2 months ago there were between 300 and 500 cases a week. Hello, Will.
Hi, Jay.
Don't touch. How are you?
Yeah, fine.
It's been a while. It's really good to see Will. You know, he's back here, still working on the Ebola outbreak.
I knew I was going to come back. There was no question about that. I never wanted to leave Sierra Leone. It was only because I got sick.
So what's it like here compared to what it was at the end of last year when things were really, really terrible and cases were still going up?
Yeah, it's a lot quieter here now.
Yeah.
We've got a handful of patients inside, but likely they'll test negative.
Yeah.
Haven't had a positive case for a couple of days.
I think a lot of people say we're kind of on this bumpy road to the end.
Yeah, but yeah, when it is announced, it's going to be a good time to be here.
What are we going to do?
Just have a big party.
It's going to be amazing, isn't it?
It's going to be a lot of body contact, probably.
Yeah. He's a good dancer.
Yeah, it's gold. I saw the very best of what people can do with people like Nancy, just the humanity and the amazing courage. You just saw how wonderful people can be.
Yeah.
I guess it's been a huge moment in my life. What I'm probably just going to remember are the incredibly strong people. I don't think their spirit was ever broken. And that's something that always stays with you and you can draw inspiration from. I have friends here and people I love, and also I wanted to come back and see the end of Ebola.